For Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
News broke this afternoon that one of the companies that this government says they gave $1.2 million to for their Arrive Can boondoggle, well, that company says that they didn't get a dime. So, where's the $1.2 million? Who got rich?
The Honourable Minister, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, throughout the pandemic, keeping Canadians safe has always been our top priority, and that was why we used the Arrive Can app. CBSA is aware of concerns surrounding contracts, and they're looking into the matter further. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Say is concerned. Canadians are concerned because this Prime Minister's scandal-plagued record speaks for itself. This was an app that started out, it was supposed to cost $80,000, and the expenses ballooned to more than $54 million. It wrongly quarantined, forcing people into house arrest. 10,000 Canadians wrongly. It's a boondoggle. It's a failed app. They've lost $1.2 million. Who got rich?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you know, I wish the party opposite would go back in time to a time when they were calling on us to close borders. We brought in the Arrive Can app to keep Canadians safe, and it worked. It's no longer mandatory. And Mr. Speaker, as I said...
I'm just going to interrupt for a moment. I'm having a hard time hearing the Parliamentary Secretary. And I'm sure the Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes would like to hear what she has to say. So I'm going to ask everyone to just take it down a notch and maybe just take a deep breath. And now we'll listen to the Parliamentary Secretary from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Oh, it's starting again across the way. And I guess they just don't want to remember what it was like a year or two ago when Canadians were living with COVID and the Conservatives were calling on us to close the border, to stop letting people come in. We brought in the Arrive Can app to keep Canadians safe, and it worked, Mr. Speaker. As I said previously, CBSA is aware of issues with the contract, and they're looking into it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Niagara Falls.
Speaker, the Liberals' continued use of the Arrive Can app destroyed any chance of recovery this summer for our Canadian tourism sector. Canadians are struggling, yet they deserve so much better. So they can be excused for being upset when this government committed $54 million to the disastrous Arrive Can app. Canadians simply want to know two things, Mr. Speaker. Who got rich at their expense, and when will you scrap this app?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Arrive Can app is no longer mandatory. Perhaps the honourable member has not been watching the news to know that, but I want to assure Canadians that it's still available for those who wish to use it. We brought in the Arrive Can app along with many other measures that we did during the pandemic because we were always putting Canadians' health and safety as our #1 priority. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Mr. Speaker, Haiti has asked international aid to face this crisis in this country since corrupt political elites exacerbate the negotiations. Armed gangs are continuing to terrorize the Haitian population. Can the Minister for Foreign Affairs tell us what Canada will do in this case? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his important question, but also for his solidarity with the Haitian people. Like so many Canadians, I'm deeply concerned about the situation in Haiti, which is why we are looking for solutions by the Haitians for the Haitians. The Prime Minister and I are committed to working with our counterparts, and that's the reason for which we sent security equipment to the Haitian National Police. We are ready to impose sanctions against those who are funding gangs and who are fueling instability. Our message is clear. We will always stand by the Haitian people. Avoye Vammeshi.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Speaker, we heard some responses from the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety, but we didn't get an answer. So it's very clear. They said the app was going to cost $80,000, and then they said they gave this company $1.2 million of a total of $54 million on this boondoggle, and the company that they say that they gave $1.2 million to said that they weren't given a dime. So we asked who got rich. They don't know the answer. Here's a new question for them. Who is lying?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope the honourable member is not accusing me of lying in this House. Mr. Speaker, it's really hard to answer the question when I can't even hear myself think, Mr. Speaker. I've answered this question now 4 times, and for the opposition to call the ArriveCan app a boondoggle when it was developed to keep Canadians safe is appalling. CBSA is aware of issues with the contract, and they're looking.
I'm just going to interrupt the Parliamentary Secretary for a second. I'm going to ask her to maybe give us the answer from the top again, because it was hard for me. But wait. I'm just going to share a little story. Last night I was at a reception across the hall, and there were some people who were in the gallery, and they were looking down and they were identifying individuals who were screaming and shouting, and they were embarrassed for the individuals. I just want you to think of that when you're sitting in your seat, thinking that you're alone. You're not alone. You're either on camera or someone is watching. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, I'll let her start from the top with an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Throughout the pandemic, our #1 priority was the health and safety of Canadians. And the ArriveCan app was part of the response to that. As I have said numerous times in this House, CBSA is aware of issues with the contract, and they're looking into them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Kenora.